real hot button lately has been that Fall River fire out in Massachusetts, the Gabriel house, where like 10 individuals perished in a sprinkler building. That being pretty rare, and obviously got a lot of eyes raised, and the early indications were that, well, there were O-ring sprinklers in there. So that really, I think, made us jump, right? We talked about this for a while, but we got to get on this now because this is a potential big issue for the industry. People's eyes are open to it right now. We need help catching these kinds of problems.
Grant, excited to have you back talking about the partnership between Inspect Point and NFPA Global Solutions. Obviously, Dyne Labs. Want to go over some of the new versions we have coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Drew.
So I really gravitated toward this couple years ago with you specifically before you guys partnered with the NFPA, actually NFPA Global Solutions, and really like the idea of empowering contractors and building owners to get things tested really on the sprinkler system. And this is focused on sprinkler heads today, but we're definitely expanding on that here in the future. And your capabilities as a testing lab, your turnaround time, and now you're very close to NFPA. So that really helps with some of the codes. So I guess give us a little history of Dyne Labs and like a quick history and like how NFPA 25 has evolved in the last couple of years.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So Dyne Fire Protection Lab, as Drew mentioned, we are now an NFPA Global Solutions company. We are focused on the lab tests in NFPA 25 specifically. So we're talking sprinklers today. We also do foam, water mist nozzles, diesel. We do corrosion testing. When we talk about sprinklers and why we talk, Drew, a lot of those other tests I mentioned, they're every year or every 5 years. And we find that contractors do pretty well with the routine stuff every month, every quarter, every year. We're talking sprinklers. We're talking something that could be 20 years after install, could be 50 years after install. And that stuff tends to fall to the wayside, if you will. It just gets forgotten, gets missed. So we at Dyne, we've always taken the stance of just the easier we make it to do, the more likely it is to be done. If there's any roadblock or potential hurdle they have to jump through, it just won't get done. So that's actually why we started talking, Drew, is about these making it easier for sprinklers and given the intervals. And not only are they all over the place, whatever edition you're on, those between editions are changing as well. We talk like way back in 2011 edition, maybe you're on that. We have dry sprinklers at every 10 years. And then as we went on and on with data that we provided and other labs provided to the committee, we said, hey, the dry sprinkler rate, the failure rate is going down. So that went up to 15 years. Then it went up to 20 years. So I don't think it's the committee's intent to make this difficult, to have all these frequencies. It's really a data-driven decision. Like quick response sprinklers being 20 years or 25 years now, again, that's another one that's changed. It was really not because quick response sprinklers fail more often than standard. It was just newer technology at the time. So we didn't have enough data yet to say, yeah, we can wait 50 years. But as that data goes on and as we continue to collect it, if the failure rate is low, that does get changed. So our partnership, really, your platform is just so perfect for recording, taking inventory of what people have and helping them know when it's come to be due. And if you want to chat real quick, again, the real hot button lately has been that Fall River fire out in Massachusetts, the Gabriel house, where like 10 individuals perished in a sprinkler building. That being pretty rare. And obviously got a lot of eyes raised, and the early indications were that, well, there were O-ring sprinklers in there, right? Recalled sprinkler that should have been caught either at the testing intervals or even way back when they started doing those voluntary recalls. So that really, I think, made us jump, right? We talked about this for a while, but we got to get on this now because this is a potential big issue for the industry. People's eyes are open to it right now. We need help catching these kinds of problems, not only these recalls, but also the testing, anything that we fail, right? That there's a chance that doesn't go off in a fire. And then we have situations like Fall River or Gabriel House, which are preventable if we follow the codes.
Yeah, and I know there's discussion now in newer editions of NFPA 25 to put those recalls out there to make sure they're deficiencies and they're reported correctly.
Yeah.
And it's not that way right now.
No. And unfortunately, we always say the codes are written in blood, right? It takes a situation like this, like antifreeze, right? In the early 2010s, where all of a sudden we had an individual perish and then they changed the antifreeze language. We may have a situation here too, where we start to see some changes to recalls. Maybe we specifically call out O-ring sprinklers. They're not called out in the standard. Technically right now, if you give me an O-ring sprinkler and I test it and it passes, technically it does meet the standard. Now we're going to definitely highlight that, hey, this is an O-ring. It has a very high failure rate, but it doesn't say specifically now that O-rings have to fail. So I think some changes are going to be coming. I think that'll definitely be a hot button come the next cycle. And NFPA 25 is on an every 3-year revision. But I know a lot of your folks, a lot of my folks, all these customers, we're on so many different editions, which is just another beautiful thing about your platform that, you can also help track the editions and help figure this all out, keep it all tidy.
Yeah, the frequencies are one of the most complicated parts of NFPA 25 and other standards. It's just the frequency changes every cycle, and if you're in different states, different jurisdictions, how do you manage that to the code, right?
Yeah.
So
And again, it's not to make your life difficult. It is data driven. So the building, if we have data to suggest we don't need to test every 20 years, we can wait 25 or whatever years. They do try to take advantage of that, right? NFPA being a minimum codes. They're not trying to just waste your money on testing. So it is a data-driven decision, but unfortunately at this time, it does result in a lot of intervals and intervals that are changing as we react to the data.
well, what I'm going to show here is we had an addition, the first version 1 feature of this. I'm not going to, I'll kind of highlight it at the end. That was essentially ordering kits and everything through Dyne, through the Inspect Point platform. And what we've done recently is more of like system and asset component changes and analytics to help your team to make sure you know what buildings are coming due, what sprinkler heads are coming due, and get them over to Dyne so you can get them back to the customer for analysis, a quote for replacement, or just, hey, it passed and we don't have to test this for 10 more years. So Grant, feel free to chime in as you go along. So if you're familiar with the Inspect Point platform, we're very building system and subsystem assets, very centric to gather all that data. And by gathering that data, it's not in a form. It's actually in a structured format where, fire alarm system, we have the fire alarm devices under that. Sprinkler system, we have the sprinkler heads or control valves or tamper switches under that. So I'm in a building here called Yankee Stadium, near and dear to my heart. I think we even do the inspection there through one of our partners. We have all the different systems. I got a bunch of dry systems because it is a stadium. Under those systems, I then have sprinkler head group, right? In these, I have Victaulic dry uprights and dry pendants, right? We're categorizing that. We're grabbing that data in the field. I'm not going to show you the app right now, but I'll at least show you what the structure of the data looks like and how it produces that analytic report. Again, we have a V3601, the sprinkler identification number for that Victaulic valve.
Don't mind those pigeons.
Yeah, I know that. I know there's pigeon wire on all the sprinkler pipe at Yankee Stadium, and it kind of bothers me, but it keeps the pigeons away.
There you go.
And then we have the different tests for the different years, and whatever edition of NFPA 25 you're on, we're going to give that frequency accordingly, right? And we also had the retest in there as well. So again, this was installed. It's definitely due. They'll be highlighted in the field from the technician's perspective that, hey, this has to get replaced or it's coming due for replacement in the next 12 months. So again, just some basic information about that sprinkler head.
All that information there either helps you figure out the interval or, again, it helps the customer, hey, we got to replace these. Again, I saw you had like the K factor. They can make sure when they go time to replace them, they have all the information they need. So this is a great way to log it all.
Now, this one's not due. Obviously, it's not going to flag the technician in the field. So that's how we're structuring the data, and it's in there forever. You don't have to fill it out again. You'll see it every year, right? Now, off of that, we're able to create a sprinkler projection report. So this is looking at all of our buildings and essentially, hey, what's due and even what's coming due, right? So there's a lot of different filters up here. So this is a nice analytic report for the office to get a quotation out there to a customer 3 months ahead of time. Nobody's been able to really do this before. We're doing it now, other than tracking it in maybe a spreadsheet.
But, exactly. Very cumbersome. And you have the edition there too, the edition that they're on, whatever jurisdiction they're in, the interval, next test date.
So next service year date, we've got the edition. Again, that's going to be at the building level. And, if you're in different states, different jurisdictions, we're gonna grab all that accordingly. And some more of the data on each of the sprinkler head or sprinkler head groups. We can then come over here, submit this to Dyne. It's going to essentially create a kit for you, right? And Grant, if your team gets this submission, and just let them know that it was me.
Will do. But yeah, this is slick. Again, it's all about just making it easy to know, like, okay, what do I got to do? And then, okay, now I know I have to do it. How do I get it done? So having it all just right here where they can just a couple clicks and get it all done is just key. Takes it all off your plate.
So I'm going to send a submission if you need a box or not, depending on look, this one. I think you guys are sending us a box.
Yeah, we give free sample kits, free shipping in the contiguous U.S. So definitely take advantage of that.
And then we submit it. Well, emails required. Bam, it's going to submit this over to Dyne.
Yeah, so we'll receive it and we'll get you a kit out to you. You fill that box with your sprinklers and send it on back. And 5 days or less, you get a PDF report in your inbox, whether they passed or failed.
Yep. And this is a kind of a running list of all the sprinkler head submissions. I'll just look at, hey, this week. And I submitted 2 here. Once you get it back, you mark it complete and get it out of the queue.
Yeah, that's slick, Drew. Again, the easier we make it, more likely it is to get done, Drew. That's amazing.
Yeah. So this is, by getting the proper data in there for the sprinkler heads. Yeah, it takes a little bit of work for the technician. We're already probably grabbing that anyway from either the spare head box or looking at the sprinklers, right? That are up there. And, getting that data once will provide a lot of better analytics down the road, some things of maintenance, and get them tested. And, those change outs for heads that have been rejected, they're a big dollar amount when if you have to shut down a system and all that. So giving forewarning to the building owners optimal.
Yep, you got it. It just, again, I appreciate our partnership on this. Fall River made us jump, but like you said, we've been talking about this for a while. It's a known issue. Excited to see this help the industry, take stuff off their mind, just less steps. We're all looking for that. So this is great, Drew.
Yeah, no problem. And if you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to your Inspect Point rep or Dyne themselves, and they'll get them over. They'll get you over to us so we can properly show you in your instance.
Thanks for having me, Drew.
Yeah, thanks, Grant. This has been great.
Take care.
Yeah. Bye.